In Activity 11, Wind Erosion, students investigate erosion caused by wind and experiment with methods to reduce wind-driven erosion. They first use their stream tables to simulate the erosion of sand by wind at the shoreline. Then, they simulate erosion of soil by wind in a field and observe the ability of vegetation to hamper wind erosion. Finally, they predict and observe the effect of a windbreak on erosion. You will need the following materials from the kit: Activity Sheet 11, wooden blocks, stream tables, aluminum foil, modeling clay from Activity 10, nylon mesh, wooden sticks, and the stream table from Activity 3. You will also need to provide safety goggles, large cardboard box, and pebbles. To prepare for the activity, make a copy of Activity Sheet 11 for each student. Place the following materials at a distribution station: a roll of aluminum foil, the bag of modeling clay, pebbles of various sizes, a package of nylon mesh, and wooden sticks. Each team of 4 will need their stream table, a cardboard box, and a wooden block. You will also need the class stream table from Activity 3. To begin the activity, ask students what happens to the sand on a beach when a strong wind blows across it. Students should reply that sand is picked up and carried away or eroded. Explain that in the first part of this activity, they will observe how erosion by wind affects a sandy beach. Have the students retrieve their stream tables. Distribute a pair of safety goggles and a copy of Activity Sheet 11 to each student, and a cardboard box to each team. Then, have each team check that the clay and grommet plug is still in place in their stream table. Instruct the students to smooth out the sand so that it covers the entire length of the stream table, and then place their stream table inside the cardboard box. Next, instruct students to put on their safety goggles and then take turns blowing across the sand from a distance of about 10 centimeters. Have them continue blowing for a total of 50 breaths. Tell them to record their observations on Activity Sheet 11. Ask students, what does the surface of the sand look like now? Encourage answers that include the words eroded and deposited. Explain to the students that dunes are hills of sand formed by wind erosion, and encourage students to look for dunes formed on the surface of the sand in their stream tables. Then, ask students, what can we do to reduce the erosion of sand by wind? Introduce the term windbreaks as human-made or natural barriers that deflect or reduce wind energy, thereby limiting the amount of sand that erodes. Next, distribute a wooden block to each team of 4. Have the students smooth out the sand in their stream tables and place the block in the sand about 2/3 of the distance from the near edge of the stream table. Explain that the block represents a house and that their task is to construct a windbreak that will keep the house from being buried by the eroding sand. Turn the students' attention to the assorted materials at the distribution station: aluminum foil, nylon mesh, pebbles, wooden sticks, and modeling clay. Challenge them to design a windbreak that utilizes some or all of these materials. When teams have finished constructing their windbreaks, have them test the effectiveness by blowing on the sand in front of it a total of 50 times. After the students have finished experimenting and recording their results, ask, how effective were your designs? An effective windbreak will have prevented any sand from being deposited on top of and next to the wooden block. Have teams share their windbreak designs and explain why they were or were not successful. Then switch gears by having students recall their experiments with water erosion of soil in Activity 3 and ask, how did vegetation affect the erosion of soil by running water in Activity 3? Students should recall that the barren side of the stream table eroded much more quickly than the vegetated side of the stream table. Then ask students, how do you think vegetation affects the erosion of sand or soil by wind? Students will probably suggest that the effects of vegetation will hold true for wind erosion as well. Next, retrieve the stream table that was planted with grass in Activity 3 and place it in the cardboard box on a centrally located desk or table. Invite students to take turns coming up to the desk and blowing, first across the planted side and then across the barren side. Ask students, how did the erosion on the planted side of the stream table compare with that on the barren side? Students will have observed that there was more erosion on the barren side than on the planted side. Because the barren side lacks the physical protection and root structure that plants provide, the soil from that side of the stream table is picked up by the wind more easily than is the soil on the vegetated side of the table. Go on to explain that plants reduce the speed of the wind, causing the wind to deposit the particles of sand and soil it may be carrying. Plants are also a natural barrier, preventing the wind from picking up the particles in the first place. In any event, plants help minimize wind erosion. Finally, ask students from what you have observed Is there any way to completely stop the erosion of sand or soil by wind? Students will conclude that it is nearly impossible to completely stop erosion. The force and speed of the wind are too great. To conclude the activity, have students dismantle the windbreaks from their stream tables. Save all salvageable windbreak materials for the assessment activity. Remove the clay from the grommets in the stream tables and discard it. Have students leave the sand and grid in place, and stack the stream tables for use in the assessment activity. The stream table with grass can be emptied, rinsed, air-dried, and returned to the kit. For science background, reinforcement activities, curriculum connections, and information about the Delta Science Reader, please consult your DSM Teacher's Guide.